Hello boys and girls, how are you? Welcome to iTTV. I'm Miss Sonia, your Year 4 English tutor. Today, we are going to do Comprehension. But before that, I have a poem for you. Listen. I love to feel the grass between my toes. Pick flowers and in the sand draw a rose. I love to see the sun go down and watch the busy bee fly across my nose. I like the sound of rain, but thunder gives me a fright. I sometimes hide under my bed when the loud crashing sound comes. I like my morning cocoa warm with milk, but no sugar, Mummy says. It is not healthy. I like bread covered in jam and butter, but Mummy's food always makes my mouth water. Now I'm sure your mother's cooking makes your mouth water too. Now students, let us get on with our lesson for today. We are doing Comprehension. Now let us read this passage together and answer the questions later. Read this passage carefully and then answer the questions that follow. Nowadays, a lot of youngsters learn judo, the Japanese art of self-defense. They learn it at community centers and sports clubs. The founder of judo was a Japanese by the name of Jigoro Kano. When Kano was a young boy, he was often bullied and beaten up by boys bigger and stronger than he was. The sickly young Kano vowed that he would learn how to fight and protect himself. One day, Kano met a well-known self-defense instructor called Yagi. Yagi showed Kano that a smaller man could beat a bigger man if he knew Jiu-Jitsu. Kano begged the instructor to teach him the art. In those days, old-fashioned Japanese parents thought that only gangsters learned Jiu-Jitsu. Kano learned and trained very hard. He later improved on his teacher's methods and called his new style judo. His new style or movement soon became popular. He built a school in Tokyo to teach it. Today, judo is being taught in countries all over the world. It is being taught in the army and the police force. Well, students, isn't that interesting? The ancient art of judo. Now, did you pay careful attention to what we've read together? Because now you are going to answer some questions. Kano was often bullied by bigger boys because he was A. Small and sickly, B. Young and handsome, C. Big and tall. Another word for vowed is A. Shouted, B. Promised, C. Thought. Yagi was a blank self-defense instructor. A. Crooked, B. Selfish, C. Famous. Gangsters are blank. A. Hooligans. B. Sportsmen. C. Dancers. Kano wanted to learn blank from Yagi. A. Boxing. B. Judo. C. Jiu-jitsu. Where do youngsters learn judo? Well, students, are you done with your answers? I'm sure you've got them all down correctly. Let's check the answers together. Kano was often bullied by bigger boys because he was A. Small and sickly. Another word for vowed is B. Promised. Now students, what about the word shouted? Yes, very good. To shout is to speak very loudly. What about thought? Yes, a thought, an idea in your head. Yagi was a famous self-defense instructor. C. Gangsters are hooligans. A. Kano wanted to learn Jiu-jitsu from Yagi. The answer is C. Where do youngsters learn judo? Youngsters learn judo at community centers and sports clubs. Well, how did you do? I'm sure you did really well. Now, let us go on to our next comprehension exercise. Read this passage carefully, then answer the questions that follow. The camel is a beast of burden. It works for man and it often carries heavy loads on its back and tracks for days in a desert. It can survive for a long time in the desert because of its body structure. It can store food and water in its stomach. Before a camel starts on a long journey through the desert, it eats a lot of food and drinks a lot of water. The food and water will be stored in flask-shaped bags in its stomach. After all the bags have been filled, it is then ready for the long journey. During the journey, it stops to rest. When it feels hungry or thirsty, it just draws the nourishment from its body. This will go on and on until all the food in its stomach is consumed. Then it has to be refilled. The camel is one of man's oldest servants. It has been used in deserts to carry loads for thousands of years. Now, boys and girls, don't you think the camel is a very useful and dependable animal? Now, let us go on to our comprehension questions. Camels are usually found in the blank. A camel eats a lot because it blank. A. Can store food in its body. B. Is always hungry. C. Is a great eater. Why is the camel a beast of burden? can a camel survive for days in a desert? How is the food stored? Where are camels used? Well, students, are you ready with your answers? Let's check the answers together. Camels are usually found in the desert. A camel eats a lot because it can store food in its body. The answer is A. Why is the camel a beast of burden? The camel is a beast of burden because it often carries heavy loads on its back and tracks for days in a desert. How can a camel survive for days in a desert? A camel can survive for days in the desert by drinking a lot of water and eating a lot of food. How is the food stored? The food is stored in flask-shaped bags in its stomach. Where are camels used? Camels are used in the deserts to carry loads. Well, students, how did you do? I'm sure you did really well. So, let us recap what we learned today. We learned about judo, the ancient art of self-defense. And we learned about the camel, who is a very useful animal. We learned how to read comprehension passages and answer the questions based on what we read earlier. Well, we've come to the end of our lesson, students, and I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Thank you for watching iTTV. I'm Miss Sonia, your Year 4 English tutor.